The objective of this task is to understand what IPL winners do differently. For this, we will be using exploratory data analysis on the IPL data set. And during this study, I'll try to understand which is the best team and what is the secret sauce which they use to win matches. So to set up the environment, first thing first, I did all the analysis using Python. And in the IPL data set that I had got, it had the data for all the matches, all the deliveries between 2008 to 2018. Now, as to benchmark the analysis, since between 2016 and 2017, the IPL didn't happen with all the normal teams. So what I did was, I removed the data for those 2 years so that we have a level playing ground for all the teams. And the another change which I did was the Sunrisers Hyderabad team. Before 2013, it was named as Deccan Chargers. So in the database or in the data set, I have renamed the Deccan Chargers as Sunrisers Hyderabad, so that we have the consistent records for the team around all the seasons. So the first task of this analysis was to find out the best team. This is the simplest side of the things. What I did was I performed a volumetric analysis on the matches data, which is shown in figure 1, and find out the number of matches won by the different teams. What figure 2 represents is little bit complicated side of the story. So what I performed was to find out the winning percentage of each team. Winning percentage is nothing but the number of matches won divided by total number of matches played. So it's kind of the density that we are looking for. So based on these two charts, it's quite evident that for all the data that is in scope, Chennai Super Kings has won most amount of matches, as well as Chennai Super King has the highest winning percentage among all the teams. So going into the deep end of the analysis, primarily to understand what is the secret sauce. So going forwards, what I'll do is, I'll compare CSK's performance with respect to the next best two teams in the data set. So if you see on the right hand side, Chennai Super Kings has won 85 matches, as well as it is seconded by Rajasthan Royals, and then we have Mumbai Indians. Mumbai Indians would be second, and Rajasthan Royals would be first. So in going on, what I'll do for all the parameters that we have, I will perform CSK's data. I will compare CSK's data with Rajasthan Royals and Mumbai Indians and see what makes CSK little different in terms of winning matches, or primarily what are they doing differently than the Rajasthan Royals and Mumbai Indians. The first point of analysis is the overall batting performance of the three teams. To understand the overall batting behavior, so I have introduced a parameter called as mean runs scored per over, which, as the name suggests, actually represents the team behavior in terms of runs scored for a given over. And how did I do that? I actually compiled the data and found out how much, let's say for all the games, how much the team is scoring for any particular over. That is the mean run scored per over for that team. So this is actually, you can say, the team's behavior for throughout the seasons. So in all the analysis which I'll be showing henceforth, I would be using majorly two plots. One is the standard box plot, and the second one is the uh, standard line plot. The box plot is again the overall representation of the of the use case. Similarly, the line plot is the, actually you can say, it gives us the insight how the team is performing over by over. So looking from the data analysis for overall batting performance, basically looking at the box plot, it sounds very interesting actually. If you see all the both CSK and MI, they have almost similar midpoint, I would say somewhere close to 1.3. But for most occasions, CSK is scoring more than 1.3. Uh, so basically all the dots that we have is actually the runs scored per over, uh, in all the overs. So wherever, so they are actually maintaining throughout, you can say a net run rate kind of thing of 1 point above 1.3 every over. Whereas Mumbai Indians and Rajasthan Royals, they are on the downside of the midpoint. So figure 2 is actually an over by over comparison. Again, we are plotting the mean runs scored per over, and if you look here, till over number, this is 6. CSK is actually scoring pretty high, and maybe after sixth over, I think power play goes off, and the fields gets and the fields spreads out, and that's why every team is dipping down. So primarily, CSK is, if you see, most of the time they are on the up, but from overs 15, 10 to 15, they are actually lagging a bit, but they do make up loss. They do make up for the loss with some steep acceleration in the end. And mind you, this is the overall behavior. That is the first innings and the second innings. So going, I'll be, decomposing this overall batting performance into how they're performing in the first innings and how they're performing in the second innings, because the perspective of batting in the two innings, it's quite different. Similar to measuring the batting performance, I have, used the same methodology to measure the bowling performance. So for batting performance, we had the mean runs scored per over for any given team. And to measure bowling, I have introduced the mean run given per over, which has the same philosophy. Basically we are measuring how much run on an average the team is giving for a given over for all the matches. And as keeping the methodology same for my all analysis, even for measure my bowling performance, I'll be using box plot and the line charts to perform the analysis. So looking at the analysis output for overall bowling performance, we can say CSK does okay in bowling. It's MI actually who looks the best. However, if we see the line chart for all the teams, CSK is, I mean, they are in terms of, expensive in terms of 3 to 7 when they're giving runs. But they start doing okay from over number 8 onwards, maybe, when the spinners come in or when the field widens up. And they are able to manage to pull things back, after overs number 16, when the other team is trying to score heavily. And one surprising aspect which I could see here is, in the last 6 balls, I mean, what they're doing, it's not. We have to watch the match, by the way. They managed to pull things down drastically. If you see the graph, they are the only team, whose line, goes down from over number 19 to over number 20. So basically, if you follow the trend, and it is against every trend. Uh, so if you follow the natural projection, CSK would have ended up first probably the way they were going, but there is a sudden turn after 19th over which makes them third from first. And this is in terms of giving the runs. Hence, the third means the you can say the best. Another aspect to understand the bowling performance is understanding the freebies performance. By freebies, I mean how many extras a team is giving, because they end up, you know, uh, if you are, if you are batting, if you are bowling first, then they end up in your score that you're going to chase. And if you're defending, they reduce the chasing total for the other team. So looking at the freebies performance, we can see, CSK does way better than all the other teams. And in this case, how many less runs you give, the better you are. Even in the box plot as well as in the line chart, we can see, they are quite disciplined in terms of how many runs they give, and they did not give runs. Basically, they are very miser in terms of giving extra runs to the other team. When we look at the batting performance for first innings, from the box plot as well as from the line chart, which is here, we can see CSK does okay in terms of first innings batting. Rather, it is MI, who stands out. I have to go back and see, how much they are scoring in the first inning total, because the acceleration that they are going in, from over number 14 is just amazing. However, for CSK, what I see is, they keep the mean run score up here. They are not, so that they don't fall behind by much. So end of the day, so they can say they are like second, and overall the graph is throughout the curve. They are either first or they are second. They are not falling back by too much margin. If you are batting first, you need to bowl well to win matches. So the bowling performance while defending target between the three teams, will actually spill some beans in terms of what they are doing differently. So if we see the box plot as well as the line chart for this analysis, we can see Mumbai Indians has the lowest midpoint among the three teams. So obviously they do have the best bowling attack. Right? Even in the last season also they had the uh, death over bowlers in the entire lot. Although CSK has higher score on the mean runs given per over, but overall behavior exhibits a tendency to keep the score lower than the midpoint, but whatever midpoint we have. For Mumbai Indians, the range of run, is smallest. But if you see the team's behavior, they tend to slightly go, rather give away runs on which are more than their midpoint. Also, if you see from the line chart, Mumbai Indians and the last over, they are doing very good actually till over number 19th. But in the last six ball, I don't know what they do. They go from number three to number one. Whereas if we see CSK's performance, it looks from over number 14th, they have a steady grip on the bowling side, and again surprisingly, I don't know what they are doing, on the ground, but for the last six balls, they are just awesome. They are only so. By the way, Rajasthan Royal does way better, in terms of bowling. If you can see from over number 18 to over number 20, they are the only teams whose graph goes down in terms of how many runs they are giving. But going back to CSK again, since they are also batting better than Rajasthan Royals, so they do bowl well to keep the basically keep they do defend well actually here in this case. As we discussed freebies behavior, basically overall freebies behavior earlier, so here we are discussing the overall freebies behavior for the first while defending. So CSK again, represent the same behavior. So they are actually, very, very miser in terms of giving away extra runs. And actually, this helps the team to win matches while they're defending. Basically, the other team, who are chasing, they don't get any free runs from CSK, and they have to chase whatever CSK has scored in the first innings. Looking at the bowling performance for first innings, I mean, when the teams are bowling first, we can see, I mean, it's pretty hard to differentiate between the teams when we look at the box plot. So they're very similar, in nature. When we look at the line plot, overall Mumbai is doing best out of the three teams, but somehow the team loses the plot in the 19th over. And from third position, if you see, they are way low between among CSK and Rajasthan Royals. They go at the top. Looking at our CSK, they are also okay in restricting other teams total. And again, strangely, the last six ball they pull back things, and from top actually they come down to the bottom. And again, just to remind you, this is the overall behavior. This is not just one match stages behavior. So this is how the team is performing throughout all the 8 or 9 seasons, and I think around 170 plus matches. Batting performance while chasing the target. Well, we know who has got the best batsman in terms of chasing a total, lower order batsman in terms of chasing the total. So when we plot the data, we can see CSK is the clear winner here. They win by far. Okay, I mean, and that could be the secret sauce. Again, I need to look back and see how many matches CSK chose to field first and have won. Well, looking at the box plot, we can see both Mumbai Indians and Rajasthan Royals. They have got a higher midpoint, as than CSK. But CSK's overall behavior represent most of the times, they are keeping they are scoring above the mean score point. And if you see at the uh, line plot, so they are, I mean, the blue line is, is distinguishable from all the other two lines. So they are leading the chart for most of no most part of the game, and the steep acceleration curve, which is coming after over number 12th, is representative of very heavy scoring and chasing down the totals that we have seen on live television. To conclude my analysis on terms of what is the winning sauce, I would say for CSK, it is getting the fundamentals right most of the times, and which is clearly visible from the analysis. So by fundamentals, I mean, so there is a saying that, winners don't do different things. They do, simple same things differently. So similar, philosophy we can see here also. So whenever the team is setting and defending a target, so what they do is they score to their max potential. We saw in the batting, analysis of first innings. So they don't do fallout. So they don't fall out by much. They score to their max potential. The second thing they did is, in the bowling part, they do defend well. So we saw in the bowling performance for the while defending a target, so they are doing okay. But after 15th over, they try, so they dramatically, starts pulling things back uh, most of the times, and ends up the last in terms of giving runs. And another thing that they do is they don't give you extra runs. So they are very, very miser in terms of giving you extra runs. And when the team is chasing target, we so they do bowl well to restrict, you know. So they don't bowl too much wayward to give away too many runs. And while they're chasing, we all are aware of the MSD calculator, which they use, and we have seen, from the batting performance in the during chasing target, uh, they are way top of other teams. So that would be all for my analysis on the given task. I hope you liked it. For any feedback, please drop me a note on my email address mentioned in the footer of this presentation. Thank you very much.